I don't want to set the world on fire.
What is up, good people? With the meteoric rise of the value of games from the Xbox 360 library here in the last, I don't know, 2 to 6 months, and YouTube content creators just covering it left and right, I decided I wanted to have my turn. And I wanted to go over 50 plus games from my own collection that I would consider rare or uncommon. Now, I say that with the caveat that they may not necessarily be rare or uncommon where you are, but the way I have arrived at the conclusion that they are is that they are in my area. These are games that I rarely, if ever, see. Some of these I haven't seen since I bought the only copy I ever found. And you're going to have to strap in. This is going to be a little bit of a long process. Now, I'm not going to go showing gameplay of every single game. You know, you have the internet at your disposal if you want to see what the game is like. You know where to go, right? I just wanted to give you just something to be on the lookout for, okay? And now, for the most part, these are going to be in alphabetical order. You'll have to forgive me. It's not completely perfect. But I'm going to start off with, I think it's Asura's Wrath. I could be wrong on the pronunciation. There are going to be a few games in here that I'm not super comfortable that I'm pronouncing correctly. But this game, it's a Capcom title, and I want to say it current value is like anywhere from like $25 to $40 if you can get a complete copy, which this one is. And I haven't played it. Now, there's some of these I have played, some of them I haven't. But again, not a super common title. If you're starting to collect for Xbox 360, I would pick it up the first chance you get. Now, I will say this. I started collecting Xbox 360 about 4 years ago. Just something told me that it was, getting about time. So I was able to find a lot of these titles for anywhere from the like $5 to $10 range. And I'm glad that I did. Some I paid a little more, some I didn't. Anyway, moving on. Not a super expensive game, but the Black College Football Experience. It is what you'd think. It's a football game, and it represents kind of like the NCAA game, except it represents historically black colleges and universities and their football programs. And yeah, I want to say Doug Williams was behind it. This is one I've only ever seen a handful of times. I bought my copy, and then I bought a copy for a friend in Canada and sent to him because it was on his want list. Hold on, give me just a second. Sorry about that. I had to pause for the cause for my kiddos. Moving on. This is a game that I was lucky enough to pick up for $4 from Savers, back when we still used to have those. We don't have any in my state any longer, but it's Blitz the League 2. Now, I don't know if you've ever played this series, but it's an absolutely awesome take on football, only it's like the dirty side. So there's steroids, there's hookers, it's kind of like GTA meets football. I think this game regularly goes for like $75 to $100 if you can find a complete copy. And, oh, holy crap, I didn't even realize this till just now. This is a sealed copy. I legitimately did not know that. I'm just now finding this out. Holy crap. Wow. Okay, so this one definitely would go for at least $100 if I was inclined to sell it, which I'm not. Moving on, another football game, Blood Bowl. Not super common, not in my area. When I got this game, I think I got it for about $4 or $5. I think it's kind of a basically in the vein of the old Mutant League sports series, Mutant Football League, Mutant Hockey League that they used to have on the Sega Genesis. I believe that they have newer editions on PlayStation 4, Xbox One as well. Again, you can probably still find this one cheap. If you can, I recommend it. Next up, Body Count. I have heard some people describe this as a spiritual successor to Black, in that basically this game is just straight up gun porn. I think it goes, as you see, I got this for $3. I want to say that it's anywhere from 10 to 20 now. Bullet Witch. Now, Bullet Witch, it's getting less common, and I hesitated to put this on the list, but the only reason I did is because my copy it's got the book, but it also has a poster. And finding it with the poster can be a bit of a bear. I found mine on eBay. I think I paid like 20 some odd dollars for it, which may still be what it's about worth today. Crash Time. What's it called? Autobahn Pursuit, not to be confused with Autobahn Polizei. Just a racing game, and I think it's in the vein of Full Auto, maybe, and just not one I see a lot. I don't really have a lot to say about these games, except they're not ones I see often. So another one, Damage Inc. Now, I think that this one, there was an option that you could buy when it was new that included a joystick. I don't have that, but it is complete. I'm told as flying game goes, it's not that great. But again, I've only seen it once or twice on the shelves in my area. Damnation. It's a shooter. It's called Damnation. I don't see it very often. Y'all, I really am just trying to move through these. I'm not going to have a lot to say about any of them. Next, it's a vampire game called Dark. Now, I'm told that this is one of those games that's so bad that it's good, and it seems to be developing a little bit of a cult following. I want to say that it's still in the $10 to $15 range, so, while it's uncommon, it's still pretty accessible if you want to go online. The next one, Darkest of Days. This one has really been picking up steam. I've only ever played it once. I found the gameplay to be janky as all hell. Very uncommon. This is like a $60 to $70 game if you go to buy it online. And what did I pay at the time? I paid $10 for it when I got it. Again, I'm not trying to say I was some guru, but 4 years ago, I just had this feeling that it was coming upon the Xbox 360's time to start boosting up in prices. Usually you'll find that kind of once you're about 2 generations removed from a console, that's when the people that grew up with that console loved it, start developing some nostalgia, maybe even starting getting some of that grown-up money to a certain extent, and they want to go back and revisit some of the joy that they had as a youth, and then, they'll start seeking out these titles, and they come. Anyway, I've seen this twice. I picked up one of the 2 copies. Dark Star 1 Broken Alliance, RTS game, not my favorite genre. I think I've played 1 or 2 games in the genre that I really enjoyed. I might like this, and don't know, never tried it. This one took me forever and a day to find because I wasn't going to pay eBay prices for it, but it's Deadfall Adventures. Now, I did pay $18 for it. It is a complete game. This one, I'm actually told, is a lot of fun. When I tell you I haven't played all these games, what I mean to say is I haven't played most of them. My backlog is absolutely ridiculous. I'm told this is a great game. I hear that it's a lot of fun. Hopefully one of these days I'll get around to it. Give me just a moment. I'm sorry. Next up, Deadly Premonition. Now, in addition to being an uncommon game, it's uncommon in general, and it's uncommon for me because I don't like horror as a genre. I don't like horror movies. I don't like horror games. But this does look somewhat compelling, and I got it. What did I pay? I paid $30 for it at a time when I think it had gone up around $50, but it's since settled back down. But I'm glad I have it in my collection. Dead or Alive Extreme 2. It's all about the jiggle physics, y'all. It's all about the volleyballs. I'll leave it at that. There, you probably are familiar with the original in the series, and let's just say it's not. It's all about the visuals. Anyway, the next one, Dead to Rights Retribution. I think this one is still very much in the cheap column, but this is the only copy I've ever seen on the shelf, so I picked it up. So definitely uncommon in my area. I'm gonna have to start picking this up a little bit. Okay, next up, Death Smiles, a shmup, and there's not a whole lot of those on the Xbox 360 in general. This game, I think, want to say I'm not going to give values for all of them, but I want to say this game is like in the $30 range. You can find it complete. I think there was a boxed set version of it as well. I don't know what all is included in that, but shmups are always a good time. Next game I've only seen a handful of times around here: Destroy All Humans, Path of the Furon. I absolutely adored the first two games in the series, and I played them on the original Xbox. Haven't played this yet. I've heard it's as far as the series goes, but I like to collect certain series in their entirety. So I have this, and I also have Destroy All Humans. I think it's called Big Willie style on the Nintendo Wii. Not one I see often. I think it goes in the 10 to 15 range. Now the next one, also a cheap one. Only ever seen it once. Don King presents Prize Fighter. It's a boxing simulation. It's got Don King. I don't know what else to tell you about it. It's like he's famous for representing Mike Tyson back in the day. Yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. Not a common game. Not an expensive one. Now, Fable 2. Now, Fable 2. Not uncommon. Not rare. The only reason I'm showing you this because this one has the slipcover. If you can find it with the slipcover, I highly recommend it. It's absolutely gorgeous. I think I paid 10. This game may still go for about anywhere from the 10 to 20 range if you can find it with the slipcover. That's the thing. If you can find, special or collector's editions of games and you can pick them up on the cheap, always do it, especially if it's like steelbooks. I'm a sucker for a steelbook. I have a buddy online named Steve. We call him Steelbook Steve because he absolutely loves anything to do with a steelbook. Movie, game, if it's in a steelbook, he's there. Okay, next up, Family Guy, Return or Back to the Multiverse. This is like a $40 game now, and that one surprised me. I think it was like $15 to $20 for the longest. I haven't played it. I've heard that it's funny. The only Family Guy game I've ever played was the original, and I played it on PlayStation 2. But if you can pick it up, I can really easily see this being one of those games that probably eventually like caps out around $60 to $70 and stays there. So, if you can pick it up for under, 20, $30, go for it. Okay, the next, not necessarily rare, but remember what I just said about steelbooks? The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, the 5th anniversary edition. Kick-ass steelbook, kick-ass slipcover. I think it has like a bonus CD or DVD inside. One of the greatest games ever made. If you can pick it up, pick it up. Next one, F1 2014. If you're into F1 racing, I guess you would dig it. Not really necessarily my thing. But F1 2014, I think it's gone up to like $50, and I don't know that it's in and of itself necessarily an uncommon game. I think it may be benefiting from some of the fame that its predecessor F1 2013 has for being a super expensive net game, and because it's just adjacent to that, maybe people are paying a little bit more to get a somewhat close experience. I know that's why now with NCAA 14. It's still routinely like $80 to $100, but NCAA 13, like the year before, it's still, because of that rarity of 14, I think that's kind of nudged the value of it up to around $30. I think this game is dealing with that same, riding that same wave of fame, such as it is. Next one. Okay, I have to tell you, I don't do incomplete games. However, this is a rare one. Import Tuner Challenge. I only have the disc, but I found it for $5 at the flea market. One of these days, I'm going to find the case. I'm going to find the manual. I refuse to give up hope. But this was one, I originally had a complete copy. And because I'm not big into racing games in general, and there was a guy who's no longer a friend of mine, but he was a friend of mine at the time who, is all about that kind of thing. I sent it out to him, and he appreciated it, and he and I ended up having a falling out, and I really wish I would have held on to my complete copy, but, it is what it is. Moving on. Another one, not expensive, but not one you see every day. Indianapolis 500 Evolution has this cool little holographic sticker. I don't know what it is. I love games that have those little hologram stickers on them. It's, I guess, another F1 type game. I'm not super knowledgeable about racing. I've only ever seen this a couple times. And I've had a lot of my fellow 360 collectors, when they see it, they'll be like, I didn't even know that existed. So there you go. Now the next two you're going to be familiar with. Konami Classics Volume 1 has Castlevania Symphony of the Night, Frogger, and I'm getting sold. I can't even read what that other game is. Anyway, it has 3 games on it. But the pricier one seems to be Konami Classics Volume 2. I think this one's like 15 to 20. This one's like 30 to 40. But if you can pick them up, do it. Something about those compilation games, and I want to say that that's the only way you can physically play Symphony of the Night on an Xbox. I could be wrong. Next one, Leisure Suit Larry, box office bust. A bit uncommon, only in the way that a lot of the adult type games are on, mainstream consoles. It had a predecessor on the original Xbox and PlayStation 2, I believe. Then prior to that, it was just a computer only type game. And never played it. Maybe one of these days, but it's definitely not the type of game you can play with your kids around. So there's that. And another one, Looney Tunes Acme Arsenal. I have played it. It's a whole lot of fun. It's a racing game. I think it's kind of in the Mario Kart vein, only it's Looney Tunes, which I grew up there. I can't talk, y'all. Which I grew up with and I love. So yeah. Oh, y'all, I'm getting tired already. I was trying to make this as quick as possible. I'm going to speed it up now, all right? Lucha Libre Heroes del Ring. It's a wrestling game. It's a luchador game. It's not one you see every day. Very cool cover, gold embossed. Pick it up if you can. We're going to step it up. All right, bit more of a heavy hitter. Marvel Ultimate Alliance Gold Edition. I think this one is well over $100 usually, or like $100 and north of that, because it has some DLC on the disc, has some characters that you can't get in other editions of the game. I was fortunate enough to my same buddy that I mentioned earlier that I sent a black college football experience to as part of a package to him. He included this because he had an extra, and at the time he knew what the value of it was, but he said, you've been good to me, so I'm going to send this along. Next, Mayhem. It's like Twisted Metal, but in black and white. Comes with, I have seen this a handful of times, but I've only ever one time seen it to where it had both pairs of the 3D glasses. It's funny, like, under normal circumstances, I would consider a game CIB as long as it had the game, the cover, and the manual. But now, if I know that something extra for it exists like this, like the 2 pairs of 3D glasses, then I want the complete deal. I sent one to a buddy of mine that had just 1 pair of glasses in it because I got this one that had 2. But anyway, yes, it comes with 2. If you find it, cool game. Next, Monster Madness Battle for Suburbia. Normally, I would say complete. Got the disc, got the manual. Does not have the comic book that comes with it. I had a copy that had it, but I got it for a buddy of mine, and the devil on my shoulder was like, man, you should take the comic book, put it in yours. I couldn't bring myself to do it. That would have been too dishonest. So I sent it to him. One of these days, maybe I find the comic book for it. Who knows? Okay. And the infamous NCAA 14. I think this was another one that, I got for relatively cheap. I don't know if it's going to continue holding its $80 to $100 valuation once the new NCAA comes out later. I think it comes out later this year, next year, NCAA 25. It may hold its value for just being, I don't know, because of it being famous for being famous. I don't know, but who knows? Maybe it'll go down. But for right now, it's uncommon and it's kind of pricey. Next up, Need for Speed Most Wanted. When I got this game, it was probably $2 or $3. Now it's like $60 to $80. I don't understand why. I understand people love Need for Speed, and I understand. I think they're pulling it from the Xbox store here when the 360 server shut down. That's probably why. I don't know, but that fact doesn't seem to be driving other titles that are sharing a similar fate up as a result. So I don't know. I truly don't. All right. Ninja Blade, a From Software game, another game with kind of a cult following. And I want to say it's like a $20 to $30 game if you can get it. I absolutely love the cover. Never played it. Couldn't tell you much about it. Next, another. I think it's an RTS type game, or no, it's a top-down game. Omerta, City of Gangsters. I'm big into Mafia and La Cosa Nostra type things. I'm a huge fan of The Godfather and Scarface, all those great movies like that. So I picked this up, and not an expensive game, but since I bought mine, I think I've only seen a copy out in stores one time. Next one, I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation, but I bought it for $10 a few years ago. But Onitimbara Bikini Samurai Squad, I bought it for that. That's why I bought it. It spoke to the dirty old man in me. The young lady that was behind the counter, she kind of chuckled when I handed it to her. Now this is like a $40 to $50 game. And I said $10 when I got it, but recommend it if you can pick it up. Next, another shmup on the 360. And one I'm told is not that great, but you can't pick and choose when there's not many of a particular genre, and that's Odomedius Excellent. Another one that there was a cool collector's edition for that I don't own. I want to say I got this from my same buddy up in Canada. So another one. Anyway, be on the lookout for it. Next, I'm a huge pinball nerd, so I had to have, I think this is, Williams Pinball Hall of Fame. If there's a pinball collection on a major console, there's a pretty good shot that I own it. I even have several of them on my phone. I just absolutely adore pinball, and I think this one has my favorite game of all time, my favorite pinball. Which is Theater of Magic, I think is on this. Don't give me the line. But anyway, moving on. Okay, another compilation title. PopCap Arcade Volume 2. Now, there is a Volume 1. Volume 1 is pretty common. Volume 2, I ended up having to bite the bullet and go through eBay for this one because I never saw, at least not for 360, never saw the second one. I've seen the one for PlayStation 2 a time or two. This one has Peggle, Feeding Frenzy 2, and a game called Heavy Weapon. Again, I just gave up hope of ever seeing it because that's how uncommon it is. And to this day, I've still never seen a copy on the shelf. Cubed, another compilation game. Let's speed this up. Section 8. Again, not pricey, but not common. I've only seen one copy, and I bought it. Saw. I don't have the sequel on 360, but I do on PlayStation 3. This was one that I think initially when it came out, folks were like, oh, it's a movie tie-in game. It's going to be, complete crap. And apparently it's a pretty good game. Again, not super into the horror genre, but I probably picked this up for cheap because otherwise I wouldn't have picked it up. It's not my jam. All right. Closing in on the home stretch. Rock Band 3. I see Rock Band 2 for 360 all the time on shelves, like piles of them. Rock Band 3, not so much. I also think it's still like a $30 to $50 game. I have no clue why. It just is. Then Rumble Roses XX, a female bikini-clad, skimpy-clad female wrestling game. I think there's one on PlayStation 2 that I also own. This was one, it took me forever to find just the manual. This was an incomplete copy for the longest time, and it always bothered me every time I saw this sitting on my shelf and just knowing that it was incomplete. I think I ended up paying like $20 for the manual, but it was worth it. Moving on. Spectral Force 3. Now, this is generally, I think it's a JRPG. I tend to avoid JRPGs or games that have that anime aesthetic, and I don't mean any harm if that's your jam, but it's never been for me. But again, uncommon. Don't know how expensive it is. Haven't looked it up in a while. Not one you see every day. If you're into anime and JRPGs, probably your thing. Okay, now we're getting into Spider-Man. Shattered Dimensions. You already know the Spider-Man games already pricey as crap. Web of Shadows. Picked this up for $3 from a pawn shop. At the time, it was worth like, I think in the 50 to 60 range. It's gone up a little bit since then. So, yes. I don't know what it is. Spider-Man games. Then Stormrise. Again, they put in the category not common, probably not rare, and not expensive. Probably worth picking up. I don't even know type of game it is. It looks like it's a first person. No, it looks like a third person shooter. I could be wrong. Next, Tornado Outbreak, which is actually kind of apropos because we're having some weather here where I live tonight. This is a multiplayer game. It's on PlayStation 3 as well. I always said that it was kind of like Katamari with a tornado. You know, you start a little small tornado, you pick stuff up. More stuff you pick up, the more powerful you get, so on and so forth. I'm told it's fun. Next, there's a 3-pack. It's got Trials HD, Limbo, and Explosion Man on it. Also not common. Just generally speaking, I find a lot of the compilation titles tend to be reasonably uncommon. I don't know what it is about them. Now, this game, in and of itself, Two Worlds, not uncommon. This particular edition is this holofoil one with the, I think it's a slip cover. Yeah, it is. Yeah, not super common. I think this, even as cool as this is, you can still get this for like $20, and I'm told that it's actually a pretty solid game. So, I mean, if you're gonna go ahead and plunk down and get Two Worlds, and just pony up a few extra dollars and get this kick-ass collector's edition. All right, 3 more, and then I'm gonna get out my big heavy. Wow, that really didn't sound right when I thought about it. As soon as it left my mouth, I was like, because there's probably a lot of people out there whose minds work the way I do, and that's not a good thing. This was, what did I pay? Yeah, $8, called Universe at War, another RTS. That's also a genre that's not heavily represented on Xbox 360. I've noticed some other YouTubers recently have been kind of mentioning this one as one you don't see very often. You may even still be able to pick it up for $7 or $8 if you can. Grab it. Next, Velvet Assassin. This one has been getting a lot of love lately, been on a lot of people's lists that know about these kind of things. And then lastly, well, not last yet, but as far as my stacks go, this game, Wet. It's an action game. I'm told it's really good. Female protagonist. That is some of the coolest looking cover art I've ever seen. I honestly wouldn't mind having that as a poster in my office. Now, the last game, I've got to go get it down off my shelf. Give me just a moment. This is one that if you can find a copy of it for under $200, grab it because you're getting a deal. But it's Formula One 2013, the NTSC version. And I don't know why you can get the PAL versions all day for reasonably cheap, but the North American release it's ridiculous. It's like $300 to $400. I picked this one up for $80. I got it the night that it came into my local store, and the clerk happened to tell me about it. He's like, "Hey, we got F1 2013. I said, "Really? How much?" He said, $80. I was like, I didn't even bat an eye. I'm like, sold. Again, not a big F1 guy, but if that's one, if I ever wanted to sell it later on, it's going to be pure profit for me. But anyway, yeah, 360 is just going completely bonkers right now. Everybody knows this. I don't expect it to stay that way. I do expect the prices to start coming down at some point. I think it'll level off. There's a lot of things where initially it's victim. It's kind of victimized by FOMO, and everybody just like dives in and they're like devouring up all the supply, especially the resellers. I can't give the resellers too much hate because I am one, but still, I would say some of the pricier titles, if you haven't grabbed them by now, I would almost advise wait if you really want to build a 360 collection. And even then, don't go buying them just because they're expensive. Buy something that you actually really, truly do want to play. And even though I'm not big into racing games, I do enjoy them now and again. And I probably will play 2013 at some point. That's a lie. No, I won't. Because I don't want to take any risks that this game will end up getting the disc damaged by the console. I know that that's something that really only happened with the earlier released 360 consoles, but with this kind of game, it's not the risk you want to take. But if I do want to try it, I'll try it on like 2014 or 2011, something like that. Anyways, y'all, I'm just trying to give y'all like an idea to go by of just, games that are out there that you might not have been aware of, that you might really dig and might like add into your console before, or to your collection. Again, while I do expect prices to settle at some point, I think they're going to settle, and then it's going to be a slow creep upward trend on quite a few of them. Anyways, y'all, as always, thank you for watching. I've got to do another video here in a few minutes where I draw the winner of the Xbox Swag Kit for my 100 subs video. And for everybody that participated in that, thank you in advance. And as always, pick your battles, because not every hill is worth dying on.
So if you're thinking about using crack, don't do it. And if you use crack right now, do yourself a favor and get help now.